So last year, around the end of August, we put some Apipasta into 4 hives, just split up 1 pack, just to see whether or not the bees were actually going to like it or if they were going to reject it. And they seem to have, from last fall at least, they seem to actually consume it fairly well and have no negative effects. We took nukes out of each of them, 1 nuke out of each of them. So that was, and that's positive, didn't seem to affect their growth at all that way. And all 4 of those actually made it through winter in fairly decent shape. So we're going to go check them and see if we can lose some more skepticism. Oh, this is good stuff. Whew. Crew was down yesterday and put in some more pollen patties. Starting to eat through that already, so that's pretty good. Went through pretty well the whole patty already. And that's the kind of thing we like to see. Full frame of brood. This side again has cap brood, larva, nectar around the outside, some old honey, probably from sugar since it's still liquid. Let's see how many of those I got. 1, 2, 3. So this is the 4th frame, and there's quite a large patch. I'm not sure that it's, I don't think it's actually visible on camera, but you have a large patch of young larvae. Well, good ages actually, eggs on the outside, larvae to the inside. And again, the same thing with the nectar and pollen around the outside. This obviously was largely a pollen frame, but they are converting into a brood frame. I don't see a lot of drones yet. And I expect that cold snap that we've just come through is going to have pushed that back a bit. These carnies, I tell you, always have cups. And later on, once they have drones, they'll pretty much always have queen cells. Thankfully, I mean, it's kind of fun with carnies, at least what we use mostly, that they typically have queen cells, so their time frame from when they get to critical mass to when they are actually able to swarm is really fast. Like they don't get to there and then they go 14 days and then they're ready to swarm. It's like they're ready to swarm on a regular basis. So we've had to kind of gotten used to the idea that they do have swarm cells fairly regularly, but as long as they have the correct conditions, they just chew out those swarm cells and continue on as if, you know, there's nothing's wrong. It's just, it shortens the amount of time from when they hit critical mass. So if you miss something, it doesn't take them long to be gone. So something to be on top of for us is that we're always trying to keep track of the size of the hive itself and just making sure that they never get to where they can or want to swarm. So that's the most important thing for us. And then not necessarily fighting swarm cells as much, because that's basically a losing battle. Right off the bat, this one looks a little bit smaller. They also only gave it a half patty, so that means that the boys didn't have a lot of confidence in its size. That is a really nice frame there. Not keen on the spottiness, but I wouldn't necessarily call it a dud yet, just because of that. The lack of size is also a bit of a suspect. It looks like they're on 2 frames of brood like that. I suspect they're working on to the 3rd by now. I would hope. Yeah, so this is probably hatched out brood that has been refilled. It's been nice having an earlier spring. You can get these strips in a little bit earlier into the hives and have more of a gap between when you have treatment in and when you put your honey supers on. So that's a bonus to an early spring. Not quite pushing that. So I'm not sure how much of my skepticism is actually being eliminated here, because I'm not seeing, I mean, they're not bad, certainly not bad, not duds, and it didn't kill them, but I'm also not seeing that it had a massive effect. And again, because we've had that little, may not have had any real impact at all. But it does encourage me to think that it might be worth trying a more substantial trial on him. That it does.